All right, now, the measurement to the eclipse, back to the crib, 888, 8.8, and then 8888, 0.88 to Primrose Avenue. I knew. I knew at Primrose. I went to school with the Primrose. Primrose Hutton, are you out there? In war, it is imperative to be aware of how the enemy thinks. Obviously, the Zionists actually believe they can outthink a baby boy growing up observing humanity, or the lack of it, and eventually acquire an understanding how it has all been laid out. Therefore, Yahweh measures his temple. Its measurements are all based on his existence in all things. This apartment that we are sitting in right now, as I'm reading this PowerPoint to you, is 973.03 kilometres to the crib at 105 Rothschild Avenue, Yahweh's POB. He remained there until the 222nd day of the year, which was August the 10th, in the year 1946. 222 equals the truth and wisdom count. How many times truth and wisdom are found in the King James 16:11 Bible? It's also Yahweh's weight in pounds. When he was at his peak, 222 pounds. And Jesus, which has a gematria of 74, times 3 is 222. It is the area of the Isle of Man. Its closest point, his birth date, the 11th of January, kilometres on squared drawing is 2424 miles. And that number 2424, remember, is the Jesus listing in the Greek concordance. 2424th word. So, the Isle of Man, 2424 miles to the pyramid. Going back to 24240 days plus 942 days, the Jesus birth total, from his rebirth date, January 11th, 1944, to, you guessed it, December 21st, 2012.
Hello, is anybody out there? Is God talking to you?
Yahweh was 942 days old, and Jesus is found in the 942 verses. Now, it's 942 verses, but Jesus is found a total of 973 times in those 942 verses. And 973 is what? The measurement from this apartment back to his POB. On the date of birth of himself in 2 BC, June the 17th. So this is the Jesus birth date, June the 17th in 2 BC. Yahweh, this time round, was 888 days old on June the 17th in 1946. Do you understand what I am reading to you? The perfection of all of this. 888 is Jesus, Greek gematria. So on his Jesus birth date, June the 17th, this time in 1946, he was 888 days old, telling the world. Okay. Now, from the new home, that's the one on 3 Botany Road, the one that they moved to when he was 942 days old, to his wife-to-be, his dearest love, Eileen, an angel sent to bring forth his children, between all of them, to destroy him. Now, she was 429 days older than Yahweh. She was reborn on November the 8th, 1942. The number 429 means God. And then from her parents' home to Yahweh's new bedroom at 3 Old Botany Road, Mascot, Sydney, New South Wales, Australia, was a distance in a straight line, as the crow flies, 118.22 kilometres. And that leads straight into Psalm 118, verse 22, which is all about the rejection of the capstone that Jesus in 21:42 Matthew said, "Have you not heard? The stone that the builders rejected." He was talking about Psalms 118:22. It's all being played out now. Here we go. 429, C433. Probably prolonged from 410, a deity, or the deity, God. C430. 430, in the ordinary sense, but specifically used of the supreme God, occasionally applied by way of deference to magistrates and sometimes as a superlative. Angels, exceeding. God, capital G. Mighty, great, judges. And here is the 204 from 2061137, belonging to the extreme corner, chief corner. Remember, that was the distance from his POB, travelling up Emmanuel Lane to its end, where it ran into Tosh Lane and back again, 2.04 kilometres, chief corner. Now, what have we got here? We're up to slide number 51, only 2 more to go. There we go, that's just reiterating. That's the solar eclipse, 25th of January 1944, where it occurred, the distance to the POB, and then the time from his birth date, January 11th, 1944, till Friday, 21st December 2012, 25182 days. Of course, we've got New Zealand, which measures between 2 latitudes, 888 miles. So New Zealand is extremely important. And of course, it was Lieutenant Cook who measured it with the Harrison clock. And of course, the Harrison clock was invented by Yahweh's ancestor, John Harrison, and yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on. Okay. Now, the location measuring from St. Margaret's Catholic Women's Hospital, which is where Yahweh came out to see the light, the birthing light. The distance from the hospital where he was reborn to...
I can still see it, you know.
I know, and your mum asked you... Oh, you asked your mother what it was, right? When you were, what, 2? Okay, so the distance from the hospital to the South Pole is 3877 nautical miles. Why? Why is it that distance? Because that happens to be the God-verse total and finds the word God 4,443 occasions. So, you've got 3,877 verses with the word God in it, 4,443 occasions. And then he's saying, does it end there? And of course, it's no way, Jose. It's a waiting game. That's what it's all about. And Yahweh wants to thank Alex Jones for the victory opening his new chat room. Becomes the thin edge of the wedge and brings Goliath crashing to the ground by simply failing to mention Yahweh's name. Because they know that Brian, Leonard, Golightly, Marshall is Yahweh, who is the avenging comforter. 3875. Yahweh has said, like bees, they will swarm. Yahweh's offspring will swarm, followed by all the world, so that eventually the whole world's people will swarm. What they require is divine guidance. And I'll leave it for everybody out there to read for themselves, if you can, the very small print. Now, Yahweh saying he has waited for John to speak at the appropriate time, which was Wednesday, June the 13th, 2012. Wait on. That was just yesterday.
That's when I read the
Okay, that's
John 16:8.
right. So it was yesterday that you read
Teach me all
16.
things, so I thought I've got to find out what John's up there.
Right, of course. Okay, so John, this is for you, John Lynch, and you're saying to Yahweh, teach me all things. That was the prompting for Yahweh to go and find the verse, of course, which is in John 16, verse 8. And of course it is the Comforter teaching all things. And 168, 16:8, 168 is the 168th day of the year and is the Jesus birth date, June the 17th. And it's coming up in just 3 days' time.
Sunrise
Sunday.
to sunset to moonrise was 888 minutes for Bethlehem.
There we go.
And the same for January 11th, 1944, 888 minutes from sunrise to moonrise.
Perfection. So what's it all about? To overturn the fall of Adam and beget children of the holy people to populate the multiverse. All of you have been prejudged from your past life and stand before the Comforter.
So get your applications in.
You have offended the Comforter, the Holy Ghost, as you have not recognized Jesus. And that is the unpardonable sin. It's the only sin that's unpardonable, isn't it?
Yeah, just me.
That's why he said over and over, you piss him off, that's it. There's no forgiveness for pissing off the Holy Ghost. Because Jesus and the Father, who is the Comforter, are one. The ghost of Jesus is the soul of Jesus, the Christ today. Joshua, it is you who stand accused. Yes, the entire Christian world. You personally, who have held back knowledge to the meek of the world. It is the Almighty you stand before who judges you. The Comforter to those that you oppress because you have held back the knowledge. You who have the means. You who have the radio programs. You who have the newspapers. You who have the television shows. You who have the printing presses for every pamphlet, flyer, magazine, book on the planet. You oppress the meek, and you have pissed off the Comforter.
Big time.
Jesus and Yahweh, the Father, are one. The ghost of Jesus, the Holy Ghost, is the soul of Jesus, the Christ today who judges you. Brian, Leonard, Golightly, Marshall. The name of the face of the man.